gets up before the dawn, packs a lunch and a thermos full of coffee.
Mercer on Mission was a fabulous experience and was unlike anything I've ever done in my entire life. I'm a person who is naturally shy and reserved and also from a small town, so allowing myself to be thrown into a new country for the first time with a group of people I barely knew was a huge jump for me. I left the United States to begin this incredible journey with many nerves about the unknown, but also with many hopes for the experience that was about to unfold. Flying into Dominica, I was immediately taken back by the beauty of the island. I didn't think that places that looked like this actually existed in real life. It seemed like everywhere we turned, we were looking over the side of a cliff with a view that could be on any postcard. After spending a few days in Calabishi at the Sea Cliff Cottages, we finally got to move into the village of Grand Fond, where we were working with the kids at the primary school. Our initial entrance into the community was a little rocky when we were met at Steve's bar by many of the locals who seemed to be a little too excited that we were there. I don't think I will ever forget Mr. Jammery Phillips, aka Onion, who insisted on following me around the bar despite my obvious attempts to get away from him. I couldn't understand a word he was saying, so I just kept responding to everything with, "Okay." I have to wonder what exactly I agreed to, but luckily I didn't see him again for the rest of the trip. At this point, I was a little worried that this was going to be what the rest of the trip was like, but luckily that was not the case. We then got to move on to what was the highlight of the trip for me, which was teaching the kids science lessons at the school and staying with some of the local families in the community. I had the pleasure of staying with the Phillips family. Nisa is the 5th grade teacher at the primary school and lives with her father and 3 children, Kalisa, Jonik, and Zidane, and their puppy Tip. This family was incredibly accommodating and were very hospitable in welcoming us into their home. The homestays were definitely a highlight of the trip for me, and one of the hardest parts was having to say goodbye to them. The children at Grand Fond were full of energy and were very eager to learn and excited to have us there to teach them. Their faces would light up every day when they saw us walking up the hill towards the school in the morning. They were very responsive to our lessons, and they really seemed to enjoy learning and doing all of the activities we planned for them. When some of the teachers were absent, we even had to step up and teach other subjects, such as English and math, which was an interesting experience. Many of the kids would stay after school and play games such as soccer, basketball, and cricket, so we got to come back to the school every day and play with them. That was probably one of the most fun parts of the trip for me. The kids just had so much energy and could play for hours. I hope that the children learned something from us in our short time there, but I know that I definitely learned some pretty important lessons from the people of Grand Fond. These people are just so happy, despite the fact that to us, they seem to have so little. One day, we were helping Nisa make dinner, and I made a comment about how much fresh fruit they have available to them and how I wish we had that in the US. She said that because they have all of this fruit available that they were so blessed. This has really stuck with me because I realized how much I would have to consider myself blessed. At that point, I was pretty disgusted with myself and my materialism, and I honestly hope that this is a feeling that sticks with me for the rest of my life because I don't want to be that person anymore. Leaving Grand Fond was very difficult, and I hope that we can stay in touch with all of the wonderful people we met there. We next traveled to the Eco Lodge, where we stayed and worked with Simon, Judy, and the turtles on Rosalie Beach. We've all talked about how many bugs were at the Eco Lodge so many times that I'm not going to beat a dead horse and talk about it again, but the Eco Lodge was definitely an experience. It made me appreciate my host family even more. We worked in the day cleaning up the turtle nesting beach to make it more suitable for the turtles to come ashore. Simon and Judy were both very appreciative of the work we did, although I wish we could have done more. It was an incredible experience working with the turtles at night. It was amazing to think how the tiny hatchlings that could fit in the palm of my hand could one day grow to the 1,000-pound turtles we saw nesting on the beach. It was also encouraging to see all of the tourists from the local resort who were out on the beach every night watching and learning about the sea turtles and their conservation. The more people who learn about the turtles and the dire situation they face in terms of their existence, the more likely it will be that the conservation efforts will be successful and the populations can return to more promising numbers. The island of Dominica offered some hiking and swimming locations, that I believe would rival some of the best and most beautiful in the world. We got to experience many of these incredible hikes, but some highlights for me were hiking down Snake's Head and swimming to the tide pools, jumping off the cliff into the T2 Gorge, and hiking up to Scott's Head, getting to look down on the town of Rizzo. We also got to see some pretty spectacular waterfalls, which is something I've never experienced before. Dominica definitely lived up to its name as the nature island of the Caribbean. This trip definitely had many ups, and it even had a few downs, but it definitely lived up to its promise of being an experience. It was very rewarding because I could see the effect we were having on the lives of the children of Grand Fond. It was also really great being able to educate people about sea turtle conservation so we can make sure these majestic creatures continue to inhabit the earth. This was a life-changing experience for me, and I don't think that I will fully understand the effect that it has had on my life until I look back on it a few years from now. I hope that I can continue to have an effect on the lives of those in need. Mercer on Mission has inspired me to continue my service efforts at home, as well as hopefully on the global scale again in the future.